Morgan, I am so thrilled to have you back on the show for the 12 Books of Christmas. Thanks for being my guest today.
Yes, I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course, this is so fun. I was thinking through some of my favorite books from 2020, and I'm trying to kind of mix it up, right? Like I want there to be some different types of books. And I looked at my bookshelf and I thought, oh, holy cow, I have to have All Along You Were Blooming because we don't have a poetry book. So this is different and fun. So I'm so excited.
I'm incredibly honored to be the poetry book.
Yes, I love it. Well, I'm excited to kind of reintroduce you to listeners who have heard from you in the past on the show. So this is the second time you've been on the show. So I love having you back. But I'd love for people who maybe aren't familiar with the book or the work that you do, I love what you do. So I would love for you to share just a little bit of your heart behind some of the work that you do.
Yes. So I am a poet and a visual artist, and I'm also a musician. So lots of art, lots of words, and my work is inspired by people's stories. So people can submit stories to me via email or Instagram DM. And lately I've been doing this thing where it's been going really well, where I'll just put a prompt out there, like on my Instagram story. And then in real time, I'll just make art in real time and share that little bit from their answer with everyone. So yeah, I don't know what it is, but a few years ago, I've always been creative, but I get in my head a lot and that keeps me from making things. But in 2017, I just started to realize wait a second, the inspiration for art, it doesn't have to come from trying to turn this into a career or something. It should just come from actual dialogue, actually talking to people. So everything I do is kind of starts there of what do we talk about in real conversation, whether it's about our daily lives, about faith, about things we're struggling with. It's what does it sound like when we're actually just talking it through? So that's what my art is inspired by.
I love it. Okay, the other night you did the coolest Instagram live, and
I'm so honored you saw it.
You took people's words and you just made up songs. It was the coolest thing. I was so proud of you because I was sitting back thinking wow, that's such a vulnerable thing to share a space where you're actually creating something from nothing. I felt for you how vulnerable that had to have felt. And I was so proud of you for doing that. That was the coolest.
Yes, that laughter that I just had there is just nervous laughter. I feel I'm so nervous from it. Yeah, I had been sitting on that idea for so long. And I was one day I just need to do it. I just need to try. What if I just got on my Instagram story and people just shared a word and I just gave them that real time moment of what it's like to make music, to make art. And yeah, I had a quiet moment. My son was with my parents and the house is quiet.
Rare occasion.
I think God's trying to tell me something. It's here's the moment. You have no excuses. Yeah, that was I'm so honored that you saw it because
it was so fun.
I was I don't know how this is gonna go. I just want to put it out there and try it. So yeah, it's I can see myself doing it again.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I love, so you do that a lot with art too, when you draw. And I love that. So I'm always, anytime I happen to be around my phone and you go on live, I'm well, she's clearly doing something I need to see. And so,
wow.
So I always try to watch if I can. And you've so inspired me. I don't have an iPad and I've been thinking about getting one just because I think doing that would be so relaxing at the end of a long day. And so I love that you create in so many different ways. And I think one thing that we talked a little bit about this in our last episode, and you mentioned this, that you really start with other people's stories. And I think what's so beautiful about that, when we step into the voice that God's given us and the audience that he's, put in front of us to serve, and with your whole heart, you just speak into that voice that he's given you, that finds an audience, right? And I think there are obstacles to that, right? You've even admitted, and I would admit to kind of some of the fear or insecurities that we kind of battle in that in creating art. But it's so beautiful to see how God has honored that in your life and in your writing and in all the different kinds of art that you create. And I love that. And it's one of the reasons why I love this book. And it's just so different from anything I've ever seen. And I'd love for you to just kind of jump off, because we could talk about all things all day long, but we're here to talk about the book. So I want you to talk a little bit about kind of the story of how it came to be. You know, you were creating these pieces of art in various forms from people's stories long before the book came about. So how did you go from what you were doing to, okay, this is something that we could put in book form that could really serve people?
Yes. Well, for starters, I was very intimidated by the process of publishing a book with a publisher. It had always been something in the back of my mind, but I never really knew how to go about it. I didn't have like a literary agent or anything. I was just sort of like, okay, maybe someday that will happen, but I really wasn't putting too much emphasis on it because I was like, I don't know where to start. I was like, I share so much in real time. That's just like a part of my process, because for me, I would love to say that it's an act, well, maybe it is an act of courage, but it starts from a place of like, okay, if I don't share it now, I'm going to talk myself out of it and never share it.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of what I share is in real time, or, just relatively real time. I'm sharing it as I'm creating it. And so the book was very hard starting out, because it was like, well, how do you create something that's not even going to be seen by anyone till at least next year? Yeah. So that was a bit of a challenge. So what I ended up doing was I was like, well, let me just go back through all of my notes. Let me just look at my notes app, my Google Docs, and just look at all this stuff that I have that I just sort of just written down here and there, and look at some past emails that I've sent, and look at emails that were in my draft that I never even got around to sending. And what I found was that in all of this time where I was sort of writing for people's stories, a lot of times I would cut myself off and make it really short, because that's just kind of the nature of, one, technology, and two, just interacting with people that you don't necessarily know in person. So there would be times where I would just kind of pull back and hold back a little bit and just say, I don't want to send them this long poem, because I don't know if at this point, I'm not even sure if it relates to their story anymore. It might just be sort of my story coming through. So the book are those poems. Like it's part two. It's the part that I couldn't quite figure out how to fit on social media, that I couldn't quite figure out how to fit into email. So that's how I view all book writing now. And that's sort of the advice I've even started to give to other people who want to write books. It's like, okay, you're sharing, especially if you're already kind of sharing things on social media. It's like, what are the things that you're like, I don't want to share that because I feel like I just want to go a little bit deeper with it. I don't know if that fits in an Instagram caption. So that was the process for me, and just seeing how it all unfolded. I was very, and I don't even know if I've shared this. I may have at some point, but I haven't talked about this a lot. But the book is broken up into 4 categories, and it's heart, mind, body, and soul. And I've never shared this. I don't think I have. I may have, but it was inspired very loosely off of the Enneagram, because the year that I was writing the book, and not so much like each individual number. So anyone listening doesn't know what the Enneagram is. Like a personality theory, and it's different numbers that sort of relate to who you are and things you need to work on, all that kind of thing. So it wasn't so much based on the actual numbers, though. But one thing I was very fascinated by about the Enneagram was this concept of like, some people are just more in their head, some people are more in their hearts, and some people are more in their bodies. They're more instinctual. And I just thought that was really fascinating, because I started thinking about different people that I know and different people that I've interacted with. I'm somebody who's like in my head, like that's where I start. I'm like, okay, I got to think it through, but that's not everybody. And that's what I discovered in writing for all these different people, is that, we're all approaching things in different ways. And I think that's where a lot of tension can come from sometimes. It's like people who are in their head, they tell people who feel like, it's not about your feelings, it's just about the facts. And that's not right. There's room for both. Then there are people like my husband, who's very much so in his body, and he has to kind of do things to think it through, which I don't understand. I'm like, let's just sit around and talk about it. He's like, no, I need to like clean up the house and like vacuum and do things, and then I'll come back to it. And I'm like, That doesn't make any sense to
Yeah.
me. So yeah, I'm very fascinated by this concept of like, we are all blooming, but we are all blooming as many different kinds of flowers. Like some flowers need all of the sunlight. Some
Yeah.
need to grow in the shade. Some grow in summer, some in spring, some bloom all year, some just for a season. So that became just sort of like a way of like helping me even write the book of like, okay, let's just break it down into like things that someone who is really just sort of focused on doing and feeling and thinking. And then the soul section at the end is for all of us. It's beneath all those layers. It's like, okay, what truly matters at the core. So yeah, I don't think
love
I've
that.
ever gone into that much detail about why the book is organized.
If you've ever taken your earrings off at the end of the day with that big sigh of relief, you need to hear about Comfy earrings. Comfy earrings are flat back, hypoallergenic earrings designed for 24/7 wear. No poking, no irritation, just beautiful, lightweight earrings that stay comfortable whether you're sleeping, traveling, working out, or running from one project to the next. They're perfect for women with sensitive ears, and they come in so many gorgeous everyday styles. Check them out at comfyearrings.com or through the link in the description. Refresh your jewelry box with earrings you'll never want to take off. Trust me, your ears will thank you. Now, back to the show. Looking for non-toxic, high-quality soap made by a company you can trust? Let me introduce you to Indigo Sundries, a Christian, family-owned small business that's been handcrafting soap for over 20 years. Every bar is made the old-fashioned way and free from seed oils, parabens, phthalates, sulfates, and all the other things your skin just doesn't need. Just clean, skin-loving ingredients that actually leave you feeling moisturized and refreshed. Whether you love a good fragrance, prefer essential oils, or need a simple unscented bar, Indigo Sundries has something for everyone, plus liquid soaps, room sprays, and beard products too. Get free shipping on orders over $50, and don't forget to use code Rebecca10 for 10% off at checkout. Treat your skin to the good stuff at indigosundries.com.
Because I didn't want people to think, oh, it's an Enneagram book, because it's not. It's
No,
it's not based on the numbers. It's just that inspired me to kind of look at it and break it up in that way.
Well, I so get that. And I love that, because I think what the Enneagram has afforded us that other personality tests maybe have not is the motive piece. Right. Mm-hmm. So a lot of tests will tell us, are you an introvert or an extrovert? Are you a thinker or a feeler? And things like that. But I think what has stared more deeply into my soul than maybe any other test is maybe why I do what I do, which is I think what the Enneagram has told me. And so in large part, back to your point, I think that informs a lot of your writing, right? When you think about how different people approach life and work through issues or communicate or, any of the ways we do what we do, that can so easily inform your writing, which is so cool. I don't think we've had this talk, but what number are you?
I'm a 5.
Okay. I'm a 3.
Also, I love it. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's so fun. And I think since we've talked, I'm working on a book now, which is so fun. And I agree with everything that you said about how scary and daunting it is. And so I'm working with my agent right now on my proposal, which is another daunting process. And I'm going to nerd out for just a second and ask, so I know you wrote kind of based off the Enneagram, but if you were to say, who did you write this book for? Right? Because that's a piece that you kind of have to flesh out on the front end of the book. Like, was that something that I don't know, how did you discover that? I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say at the core, I was writing it I had to start at this place, because as much as I love writing for other people, I have within my life, I have all these experiences, all these stories. So I had to kind of look within. And one of the questions that I ask, even for other writing projects I've been a part of, I'm like, even before I worry about who else I'm writing for, I ask myself, what version of myself needed this book?
Oh,
Where what was she doing? What was her day-to-day life? And I kept going back to my freshman in college self. And I was like, okay, she was busy. She was trying to keep up with everybody and everything because she felt like that's what she was supposed to do, which many of us go through that. And I was exhausted. I was worn out, and I wasn't reading a lot because I didn't have a lot of time. And I was like, she would have really have benefited from a book that she could just flip open to a page and read a poem, whether she was, you know, going on a group class trip or something, or it was just sitting on her dresser in the dorm room, just to pick it up and read it every day or every, you know, a few times a week. So I thought about her, and then I just kept going deeper into that and just like, what did she really want in that season? And what was affecting her? What was bothering her? And the interesting thing that I found is just like, the more specific, which it can be scary to kind of go down that road a little bit, or just intimidating, because you got to really look back. And I started to look at all these like awkward photos of myself from that time, and like the weird outfits I was wearing, the weird things I was doing with my hair. Like I like bleached my hair, and it was like this like blondish brown. Like, who let me do that? But anyway, it was a lot. I was like frying my hair out, like trying to curl it. It was a disaster. But when I see that though, and more I look at that, the more it's interesting. That's where it becomes universal. That's where it gets, the more I get into the specifics of thinking, like when I felt like the walls were closing in on me, when like I had a moment that semester where I ended up injuring my hand and having to get stitches a day before finals. And I had all these finals where I had to write, and I'm sitting there with stitches in my hand, and my roommate had to drive me to the hospital, and my parents were at Bible study and they like rushed to be there. Like this whole dramatic thing. And I'm laughing about it now, but I was like, back then that was really anxiety inducing. That was really stressful. So I spent a lot of time thinking about her because she's still a part of me. And I think if nothing else, I want people to, because I do feel like my writing, in a sense, it does have a very simplistic nature. And I do that on purpose because I want people to read it. And it's something that you can say, my younger self, she needed to hear that, because your younger self is still a part of you. Like she's still, it's still there. Like the situation may have changed, but some of those things that made us anxious or fearful or afraid or whatever it was, we're still in, we deal with that in different ways as we grow older. So, a lot of it was just like for the person who just kind of wants to get down to the basics and just have something that can just sort of ground them throughout the day.
I love that. I love that. And I think, you know, I talk to so many authors doing this, right? And the common denominator is always, 98% of the time, I wrote the book that I wish I would have been able to hold in my hands during X season, right? No matter what it is. And so, I'm just thinking back to, I'm just looking at my bookshelf of the authors that I've interviewed even lately, and every one of them, I can talk about how they took their life experience or their story and thought back to that girl or that guy and took something that, you know, was hard for them or what have you. And now they're sharing from a place that's maybe a scar instead of a wound now. Right. And I love that you do that as well. I think that's kind of a common thread between a lot of authors that I talk to. So that's really cool. So I would be curious, I'm always curious about this when I talk to authors, is, you know, a lot of times, you know, you're creating all these different types of art. I would imagine that there are days when you feel stuck. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah.
Yes. We all have those days, right?
I feel stuck when I start like 95% of the time.
Isn't that freeing though? I hope that frees somebody up, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel stuck most of the time.
Yeah.
It just takes, like, I felt stuck this morning, and I just have to make myself like, just start with simple strokes, just start with simple things and try scribble on the page, just get the wiggles out, just go for it and allow it to be the mess that it needs to be. And Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. When you're writing, is there anything that you've done or found helpful that gets you unstuck?
When I'm writing, I'm kind of weird with that. I feel like I'm not very good at just sitting down and just writing, like doing like the morning pages concept where you write 3 pages in the morning and you just sort of let everything out. I am not good at that.
Yeah.
I try to do it, but it's not good for me. What I have to do is something has to prompt me. So I think this is where I am disciplined though, is like I feel like I used to just wait for something to prompt me. But now I will seek out things to prompt me.
Yeah.
So on my phone, like I have an iPhone, and under Safari, you can sort of select your favorite websites. And what I've done is I've made that entire section websites that I like to read. So the first one is this website called brainpickings.com. And it's this one author who just writes these beautiful, timeless observations. She's writing about poets. She writes about all of these really interesting things. And I'll just go on there and I'll just read. So for me, that's how I get unstuck, because I'm always stuck.
Yeah.
And I feel like in a lot of ways, writing is the process of getting unstuck. It's so if you approach it and you're like, I don't know where to start, it's like, well, yeah, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. We're here to get past that. And that is really, really hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just have all of these websites some are news sites, but I try not to spend too much time starting with the news. I try to look at websites that are talking about other things, whether it's historical, whether it's something like art history related, to just sort of like unlock my brain in a different way. So yeah, that's what I do. And then if I see something and if it excites me or if it angers me or even if I disagree with it, I'm like, okay, yep, that's where I start. Like that's what I want to write about. And yeah, I could talk about that all day.
I love it.
I love figuring out ways to get unstuck. And I'll share one more thing of a little nerdy thing. I may be pronouncing it wrong, but there's this Greek word, ekphrasis, I think it is. It's ekphrasis. So yeah, it's ekphrasis. And what that is this concept of like, there's like this guy who wrote this beautiful prose piece to the Mona Lisa, but in response to the Mona Lisa, but the piece stands alone by itself. So a lot of times I'll challenge myself to do that. If I see a photograph that really speaks to me, then I'll just say, okay, well, what's my response to this photograph?
Yeah.
And surprisingly, what I end up writing stands on its own, even without the photograph. So
that's really cool. No, I would see that to be true in your work, but I've never thought about it that way. That's really cool. I mean, because it's just neat to see your work float all over the internet and think that people are applying it to their own version of their own story, even though you didn't write it specifically to that person, but God's using it in that way. So that's really cool. I love that. Okay. So I'm curious, you just have such this heart of encouragement. That's just so a gift that God's given you. And I just wonder, like, where do you trace that back to in your story? Like, how did you see that maybe come to be? And how would you encourage somebody, maybe on a similar path that has a passion for writing, wants to be an author? If you were to go tell Morgan something she didn't know 10 years ago, how would you encourage that girl?
Yes. It's really interesting because I oftentimes don't. If someone 10 years ago told me that someone would consider me to be an encourager, I would have been like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I would have been like, no, there's nothing, because I was a woman who, and still am in many ways, who struggled to make friends, who struggled to since I've been an adult, I've had 2 birthday parties. I have one a decade. I had one when I turned 20, one when I turned 30.
Yeah.
I'm not like a hostess type who's like, come over to my house and let's eat dinner and all of that. Like it would take me a year to plan something like that. And so for me, that's always been like a point of insecurity for me, of just feeling like I feel like I can't like love on people in the way that others do, and just really, really struggling with that. However, for me, and I feel like this is true for anyone who feels a draw to be a writer and to write in any capacity, is that you just have a different way of encouraging and communicating. And I'm not saying that means you're an introvert or whatever, but I'm just saying that like you have this other thing that it's like, yes, there are moments where there are people who can kind of encourage in real time, and there are moments for that. And there's also moments where people are at home and the house is quiet, or they're seeking a quiet moment, and you're probably the person who can communicate with them there. So I think the biggest thing I had to learn was how to accept who I am, and accept that most of the time I'm that person who kind of comes in after, kind of later on in the day when you're reading the words or when you're listening to the music. And it's not to say you can't be both, but for me, I had to see, I'm definitely heavier on that side of things. One thing I did, I was like, you know what, I look back at my life and I see someone who felt like it was a real struggle to be present and to engage with people in real time. And simultaneously, that same person was engaging with people through music, through art, through her storytelling, even if it wasn't face to face. And that is just as valuable.
Yeah.
And I remember growing up, my dad's a pastor, and I remember when email came out, and I remember my dad saying, like, my dad's like kind of nerdy like me, and it's just how he talks. He's like, you know what? If the Apostle Paul had email, I think you would have used it. He's like, I think this is how he would have used it to share the epistles. And that's always stood out to me, because I'm just like, you know what? Maybe so. It's like maybe he wouldn't have been doing live streams every day. Like maybe he would have still been writing it out, or, maybe he would have been hosting parties or hosting conferences, maybe he still would have been writing it out. And I think that we can see it's like, oh yeah, there's a value and there's need, especially in today's time, because there's so much going on. There's a need for letter writing, for reflective moments where you're just sitting there with the words and you're taking them in, whether that's music or poetry or nonfiction or fiction. So yeah, I feel like I've just gotten better at accepting that, I'm kind of in that pocket. That's not to say that, because I'll still do speaking engagements, and when I'm hanging out with people, I'm definitely seeking to be as present as possible. And at the same time, that I can't do so much of that. For me, I can do a little bit of it, but the thing that the more I'm able to say, okay, I'm not this, but I'm really over here with this writing thing, the more I feel the freedom to kind of be an encourager in that space. I feel like that was the longest answer ever.
I love everything about it. And as you were talking, it made me think of a conversation I had recently with Holly Girth. So she just put out a book about introverts. And one of the things, she's incredible. It's called The Powerful Purpose of Introverts. But one of the things we talked about was just realizing that a lot of times it's quality over quantity. I think we live in a time and in a generation where we feel this weird pressure to like know how many kids our bestie from second grade now has. And we just live in a different world where it's like there's this expectation of quantity of friendships that we've never really had to place on ourselves as a people before. And when did we ever show up to a 10-year high school reunion really already kind of knowing what our people are up to, And it's like in the wake of that, we've lost the beauty of sending a letter or a card in the mail, or creating in a lot of the ways that you create art, which I love. And she just really encouraged me and the whole concept of quality over quantity and friendship. She said, there was a day where I went and read 1 Corinthians 13, went and read the love chapter, and went and just searched scripture. And in pursuit of, do I feel like God cares more about quality or quantity? And I just didn't find anything about quantity. I read the passage where, love is patient, love is kind, love keeps no records of wrong. I read, things like that we cling to when we think about how we want to love people well. And that has nothing to do with quantity. And so I think that's
Absolutely.
really freeing, hopefully, for a lot of people who maybe feel that tension or feel that pressure that, sure, there are people who stand on stages and have a big platform, or being the life of the party is their jam. And there are the others of us who our sweet spot is writing words that will serve a lot of people, but you keep that one person in mind, and that's just as beautiful and just as valuable in the kingdom of God, So I think we've lost that.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. Everything you just said. And I feel like what I'm finding more and more, even just hearing you talk, I was like, oh, I think this is what I'm really learning in this season, or remembering right now, even. It's just that, like, I have to be like very clear about like what my boundaries are when it comes to social media, when it comes to sharing, when it comes to like trying to be present everywhere with everybody and talk about everything everywhere. Like, I feel like I'm in a season where I'm accepting that, okay, there are just certain things that I'm just not going to be able to give on social media, even if it does increase engagement, even if it does, like I regularly think about it. I'm like, oh, I could do X, Y, and Z, and I could probably go viral doing X. I would probably grow in this amount of followers doing that, but I'm not going to do that because, one, I get anxious just thinking about it.
Yeah.
I don't have the time to do it. I don't have time to add more things on my schedule. I'm going to do what I feel like God is calling me to do right here. And I'm going to trust that that is more than enough. And that can be really hard because sometimes that does mean like you see other people getting more engagement than you. You see other people growing faster or getting more opportunities. But it's the more I can get clear about like, okay, yeah, I'm just going to draw the line there. I'm not going to say yes to that. I'm not going to do that, even if it's a good thing, even if it has some benefits. I'm just going to say no to it. And one thing I've been doing is I'm starting to view my social media as like sort of like a mini book or like a mini magazine.
Yeah.
And in doing that, even framing it that way as I'm creating, I think about the concept of like, okay, if I were to put an actual physical magazine out there, there's no way for me to know how many likes it got,
Yeah.
There's no way for me to know how many people liked it, quote unquote. It's no, I'm putting this out here, trusting that it's going to find the people that need to find it. And that's okay,
Yeah.
And if some people write back to the editor and say, hey, I really like this, or I disagree on this or whatever, then let them do that. We'll have a conversation according to that. But this concept of like, okay, if I get this magazine out there, then I need to have, 5,000 letters to the editor when it goes out. No, you're not thinking about that. You're thinking about the quality of it. It's like, wow, this person responded and they said that this is what it meant to them. And I know that magazine did its work when it went out there. So that's one thing I've just been thinking about, even as recent as this morning, as I was preparing what I was going to share for next week. I was just thinking about it that way. I'm like, just think of it as if it is like an actual magazine going out in the world. You're not worried about, how many likes it gets or shares or any of that stuff.
Yeah, I love that. You're just creating because you want to create and serve people something beautiful and that will encourage them. So that's great. I love that. That's a great way to think about social media. Okay, so if you were to say maybe one thing you want a reader to walk away with after they have flipped through all along You Were Blooming, if they were to walk away with something, what do you hope that one thing is?
For me, I think the most ideal thing and like that I feel like, oh, that would be really cool, is if they walked away with at least one poem that they bookmark and they feel like, okay, I'm going to save that one for the rainy day. I'm going to save that I'm going to come back to page number, whatever it is, because I feel like I love books. Like just right next to me, I've got tons of books. And there's some books that have those, like they have those pages where I've just did a little dog ear bookmark and I go back to it and I open it, and sometimes I know exactly what page number it is. I know what part of the page it's at. And like, I thought I had it next to me, but I've been really getting into reading more poetry, and I think poetry is a good way, it's a good book, a good type of book to do that with, is you
Yeah.
kind of bookmark little pages and go back to them whenever you get a chance. And the book, some editions of my book, All Along Here Blooming, do have a little ribbon in it, so you can actually do that and save that little ribbon in there. So that's what I hope.
I love that. That's so important. And we come back to the books that we highlight and we dog ear, and and that is such a great way to think about it. I love that. And it is beautiful. I mean, I have just been flipping through the copy I have in the last couple of days, just getting ready to talk to you. And I love it so much. It's not just poetry, like it's all of the art that you've created as well. And it's just gorgeous. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. So I am so thrilled to be giving away a copy of it to a listener. So they've been hearing me say this for however many days since we started the 12 books of Christmas, but this is another one of the books that we have in the giveaway that we're giving away. So it's a copy of all 12 of the books that we're doing this holiday season. And so super excited to have Morgan be a part of that. And we're asking all of the authors to share what is their favorite Christmas tradition. So Morgan, I'm so excited to hear yours.
Yes. Well, I feel like my favorite Christmas tradition, it's going to sound really lame, but it's actually, I love it. It's the food that we eat.
Yes.
I feel like my family, we at Christmas time, that's like, okay, we're gonna eat all the stuff that we're all like, that takes too much time to make. and
yes.
Throughout the rest of the year, it's like, now's the time to put in the extra work and eat all the food. So we always have like some type of big feast that I feel like goes on for days, because you end up with so many leftovers. And yeah, I just love that, because I think that even just this concept of sharing big meals together, it's like, with the busyness of life, we don't really get to do that much with the people that we love. I think growing up, I may have taken that for granted a little bit, and now that I'm older, and even this year, 2020, everything that's happened, I'm like, oh, that's really special to be able to sit down and share a meal with people. And I mean, that alone is just a privilege all on its own. Yeah, I look forward to that every year, just baking everything possible, all the carbs, all the pasta, all the cheese, all the good stuff. Just bring it all. Let's just have a feast.
I love it. So my favorite at this very moment that I think I'm looking forward to, it could change tomorrow, is my mom's sweet potato casserole.
That sounds so good.
And she does.
Oh,
so
goodness.
You know how people fall in one of two camps, and they're either marshmallow people or they're like the brown sugar pecan people?
Yes.
Okay. So my mom just like broke that rule, and she just does both, because they're both good. Yeah. So she just puts it all.
Hey, I like that. I feel like, that sounds right up my alley.
I know. It's the best.
Yes.
So do you have like a favorite dish that you guys make?
Now, mine's a sweet potato pie.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you ever had sweet potato pie?
Yes, it's all the thing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so we always alternate who makes it, but lately my husband's been making it, and his is really good.
That's awesome.
I've been really, really enjoying that. I smell that, I'm just like, yep, this is going to be a good night. And I also think I like it too, because in my family, I think only 3 of us like it. So
you don't have to do a lot of sharing.
To share that one a lot. So that's nice, because when it comes to like the macaroni and cheese, like everyone eats it, so it's all gone. But the sweet potato pie, it's like an acquired thing in our family. Most people don't like it, so yeah, I was just like, you don't have to like it, you don't have to try it. I mean, take it back home with us.
Yes. Oh, that's so perfect. I love it so much.
Yes.
Okay, so Morgan, this has been so fun. Tell everybody where they can get in contact with you, see everything you're creating, visit the shop, all the things.
So I am Morgan Harper Nichols. That's my name on Facebook and Instagram. And then, if you type in my name, I'm pretty much on every social media platform. and including TikTok. I have like a video or two over there.
You go, girl.
So you can find me there. And I have an online shop. It's called Garden24. And you'll also find it if you just go to my Instagram. And we have art prints and stickers and planners and all that good stuff.
Awesome. I love it. Well, friend, thank you so much for being my guest again. This has been so much fun.
Oh, yes. It really has been a joy. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.